Welcome to a business casual Friday because we got business to take care of tonight. I'm XJ. This is the Casual Friday pod on Knicks Film School, and we're coming off an insane Game 5 at home, going into a likely insane Game 6 at our home away from home on South Beach against a tough and well-coached Miami team. There's no two people in the world I'd rather react and break it all down with. And my guys mentioned Shawn with the W, as is tradition. Guys, how are the vibes? Shawn, you want to kick us off?
The vibes are desperate because the Knicks are a desperate team. And when you have to win 3 games in a row against a team you just lost 3 out of 4 games to, you are desperate. And we saw that in the way in the coaching. We saw that in the play of the players. Well, all of them except for one quarter, but we'll get to him later. So listen, I'll keep it a buck. The vibes are absolutely desperate.
Mensa.
The vibes are, the vibes are back is how I would take it because, oh my goodness, where did the vibes go? Games 3 and 4. We were in vibe hell. It was very bad. And I thought that game 4, we were going to get rent due Thibs. I guess Thibs didn't care that the rent was due. But once they put that eviction notice on that door, he said, okay, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, I need some money. And they were absolutely money last night for very different reasons. The vibes are back, man. And we can dive into why the vibes are where they are and why Jalen Brunson and Quentin Grimes were money. But I just want to say the vibes are back.
I feel you both on this. I think I would describe it as the vibes are incomplete. We are not done with the job yet. I do not think winning the second round of the playoffs, advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals, I do not think that's gravy on the season. I think that is very important to happen, given that we ended up against this Miami Heat team, which is clearly not the most talented team in the NBA, maybe the best coach team in the NBA, unclear. But I think the vibes are incomplete, and we need to see what happens tonight. I can't wait for it. But now that we have a vibe check out the way, what we need to do is revisit the Wednesday's game for our first topic. I want to just talk about we need to have some runway to react to Wednesday's absolutely legendary game from Jalen Brunson. As you all know now, both you, Shawn, and Mensa, and our audience, 38 points, 55% from the field, 40% from 3, 83% from the line, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 turnover, 48 straight minutes of basketball. Completely insane performance by Jalen Brunson. Mensa, can you kick us off by giving your thoughts on what we witnessed?
Jalen Brunson. All right, fellas. I am going to give you a quick list, and you guys can tell me what these players have in common. We have one Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, Rajon Rondo, Derrick Rose, Dwight Howard, Pascal Siakam, James Harden, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, Harrison Barnes, Russell Westbrook, Jalen Brunson. So everybody I listed outside of Jalen Brunson has done what Jalen Brunson has done more than he has, which is play 48 minutes or more in a playoff game. What he's done is placed himself on a list of, obviously it's a motley crew, right? But when you think about it, those guys are what? Either main scorers on the basketball team, or when they did it, I presume, were indispensable wings. Jalen Brunson, when he did it, what he did for us, proves that he is an indispensable and integral part of this basketball team's fabric, its culture, and gave us the only chance we had last night. Because when we went on that big run, it was because Jimmy Butler was out and Brunson was in. We won the non-Jimmy Butler minutes for the first time in what feels like all series. It's hard to put into words what Jalen Brunson did last night, because he carried the load for us offensively. And then on defense, he was, oh my goodness, it was like a Tybo class. He was just running, chasing Duncan Robinson, and Miami had a great game plan. Their plan was to tire him out on defense so that he can't be as effective on offense. And if we have him off ball, perfect, because he's not that great off ball. What he did for us, that's not supposed to happen for the New York Knicks. It just hasn't happened. We have not had a basketball player literally fall into our lap and become what I like now referencing him as. I reference him as the block that keeps on spinning, because when we thought we were done spinning CBS's block and all those people's block, they were like, oh, he's not that great. It was an overpay. We spun it once and we got to spin it again because he did something else. And we got to keep on reminding you, this guy is the pride of New York. Like there's no getting around it. What he did last night is just, I'll remember it for the rest of my life. And I can't really put it into context yet because I'm still dealing with it. Like, I can't believe it happened. It's storybook. So I'll leave it there. But man, I just have to say, I can't be more proud of any basketball player that I've ever witnessed play for the New York Knicks in my life.
Shawn, what do you think?
I mean, like Mensa said it all. I mean, it wasn't until, so when that run happened in the second quarter, to push the lead up, I was like, I made a joke in the campus faculty chat, and it's like, oh, a sudden substitution was made, and now the Knicks are playing differently. But then I also realized that, look, I saw that Jalen Brunson was in the game, and I was like, And then as we got to end, I noticed he played the entire second quarter. And I said, he's really going to play. He's going to play all 48 minutes, and he might have to. And to do all that, what he did, 38, 7-9 on a bad ankle in an elimination game against a team that has you 3-1, while you are chasing around Duncan Robinson, while Gabe Vincent is face guarding you 94 feet, is amazing. Like, I was in I'll give them a shout out. I was in the Facts and Stats Twitter space on Tuesday after game. So this was the first time I was in there after game 4. And I had said that I believe that they asked me, like, well, why did you think the Knicks could win this series? The Heat fans are asking me that. And I said, well, the Heat have the best player, but I believe we have two guys that can outplay the best player, one of being Jalen Brunson. And they're like, Jalen Brunson? Don't you ever say that Jalen Brunson can outplay Jimmy. Don't you ever say that. And yesterday, he outplayed Jimmy Butler. And that's exactly what I was talking about. Now, can he do it for 2 more games? We'll see. But the level of confidence that I have in this brother, for me to say that I think he could be the best player in a playoff series, in a playoff series that involves Jimmy Butler, speaks to I remember John saying years ago that on a pod with Jeremy about how the front office, like, the key to winning a championship is found money. You have to have found money. And, they thought that Julius has found money. And then it turned out, well, last summer it turns out it wasn't found money. There's like, okay, he might be found money again. But, like, if you look up found money in the dictionary, you see a picture of Jalen. Actually, no, you don't see a picture of Jalen Brunson. You see a picture of Mark Cuban crying with his pockets empty, crying poor, and tweeting excuses about how his pops got in the way. Because Jalen Brunson becoming a New York Knick should never have happened ever. And now we get to watch him on a market rate deal for the next 3 years. So listen, Jalen, all the respect and praise is due to you.
Listen, I agree with both of you 100% vehemently. What I want to add to the conversation is just the fact that Jalen Brunson, and I'm taking a step back approach as opposed to just in a microcosm of what this series has been, last night's game or Wednesday night's game has been. Jalen Brunson is a top 15 offensive player in the NBA. Jalen Brunson is a top 10 isolation player in the NBA. All those guys ahead of him, those guys are either guys who can be the number 1 on a championship team or a high number 2 on a championship team. I think that it's so exciting for me. Last night, or Wednesday's performance, was so exciting for me just for the fact that we have a guy who can be a number 2 on a championship team and can carry an offense. He is carrying this offense. Definitely RJ's picking up a ton of slack Julius contributes when he can here and there. We'll talk about that later. But this offense is being carried by Jalen Brunson. And just the fact that we have a guy like that, it's just been so long. Obviously, we had Melo, but it's been so long when you feel this confident with a single guy on offense who can put up 38 on 55% and only have one turnover in 48 minutes. Like, that is unreal to me as a stats person. Just knowing the importance of not turning the ball over as somebody who has the ball in their hands that much, plays 48 minutes, is exhausted, still shoots 40% from three, still dishes out 7 assists, somehow gets 9 rebounds, and is able to have 1 turnover. Like, that's next level stuff. It's one of the greatest Knicks off playoffs performances we've ever seen. And Brunson is just legit. He's real. We got to keep this guy healthy for the next 3 years and bring somebody in to help him along. But really, Mensa, you actually, Mensa and Shawn, you both talked about this. You kind of gave a great transition to our next topic. I want to say the conversation that kicked off our KFS faculty chat today. There's always like an awesome basketball combo that ensues like after a big game between the faculty. And the combo that got going today was, how can Thibs and the coaching staff make this kind of Brunson effort more sustainable? Because I hate to say it, but we're going to probably need another 48 tonight. And I'll start us off here. I mean, I just want to say, I don't think Brunson's 48 was a problem. You have to win that game at all costs. If it went to double OT, you would have played 58. But my issue was really the fact that the coaching staff couldn't seem to buy him a breather essentially anywhere. And you both alluded to it, like bringing up the ball. I've been talking about this all series. There's moments when Spo just throws Vincent on Brunson and just says, like, lean on him, push him, shove him around, body him up, wear him down. And he brings that physical pressure 94 feet up the court. I think that every little push, bump, and grind and extra bit of energy matters for the person who is literally the key to our entire offense. And it's like, why can't the inbounder walk with him up the court and get in Vincent's way? Why can't someone else just bring it up? And then keeping a guy like Duncan Robinson or Max Strus, those are the guys that Brunson has to guard. You can't waste his energy having him run around screens and chase movement shooters like Strus and Robinson. On top of it, these guys are much taller. They have super high releases. Duncan's release is extremely quick. So even when he can keep up with them, they can shoot over him in a lot of instances. So, I would take my chances with Brunson or on either Kyle Lowry or Gabe Vincent, as people like Benji and DJ Ace Zulo have said. And I'll wrap up and pass to one of you. But, at the end of the day, 48 is the key number. But in my mind, it's not the 48 minutes, it's 48 hours. Brunson held up for 48 minutes in one game, but how will that impact how he plays 48 hours later? I truly think that Spoelstra was trying to win game 5, but really what he was doing was setting himself up for game 6. And I think in the Heat coaching staff, locker room, what they're saying is that's a win. Brunson got worn out. He played 48 minutes. He ran around. He got physical pressure. He took a ton of shots. Like, he got worn out. Can he bring it now for the next game after 48 minutes and 48 hours of rest? We'll see. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Like, the balance of Brunson's minutes and the fact that we got to make sure that this guy can last to keep us in any of these games moving forward. Mensa, you want to start?
Yeah, I can go first. So one thing that I want to say is, well, it's very, very clear that Erik Spoelstra is the best coach in basketball. I don't want to hear any arguments for anybody else right now. What Erik Spoelstra is doing, what Erik Spoelstra is doing with an army of undrafted free agents and Jimmy Butler, who was the 30th pick in the draft, and Kyle Lowry, I believe, a second round pick. The only like top 5 pick on the team right now is Kevin Love, and he's kind of worn out. Bam Adebayo picked, I believe, 13th or 14th in the 2017 draft. I think 13th, actually. No. Donovan Mitchell went 13th, so he went 14th. What he's been able to do with this roster doesn't impress me at all because Tom Thibodeau, I'm sorry, Tom Thibodeau is leaving low-hanging fruit out for a man who knows how to climb a tree, right? And if me and you and Benji and all of us, if we can see, hey, maybe don't put Jalen Brunson on a movement shooter. Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe don't let Jalen Brunson deal with the full court. Like, these are things that I feel like don't leave the low-hanging fruit out. That's all you have to do to make Jalen Brunson's job a little bit easier. And I understand you don't want him guarding a guy who can beat you off the dribble. That's not Gabe Vincent. If Kyle Lowry is putting him through screens, that's one thing. Okay, I understand that. Kyle Lowry is coming off the bench. We're not worried about Kyle Lowry, even though he's been playing amazing. When it comes to the calculus of who Jalen Brunson is going to guard, let him guard up on the point guard. We wanted him guarding up on Darius Garland. The Miami Heat do not have a guy who can break a defense down like Darius Garland. I think that, listen, we have a lot to discuss as far as positive things. This has not been Tom Thibodeau's shiniest moment. I don't think that he's coached a very good series so far. Come on. You mean to tell me that the guy who couldn't get off the bench for you the first couple games of this series in Quentin Grimes plays 48 for you in game 5? Where was the wherewithal to put Quentin Grimes into the rotation and give him more minutes the other 4 games when we went down 3-1 in the first place? I'm sorry. I'm still not impressed with the Miami Heat. I think Eric Spoelstra is doing as great a job as he can do with that roster. However, that roster is still that roster. They're still undrafted guys. Look, they play well. They're coached up. And one thing I will say about the Bill Belichick comparison is that the Patriots would never beat themselves. You always have to go and beat the Patriots because they don't make mistakes. The Miami Heat are not making mistakes. They're just not executing. But the thing is, if you give them something to hold on to, they are going to grab hold of it. Do not give low-hanging fruit to a man who can climb a tree because he's going to take all that fruit on his way to the top. So listen, if you want the adjustments the New York Knicks can make, let's put Jalen Brunson, let's let him guard up on the point guard, right? Miami does not, and I was wondering, why is it that these guys without somebody who really traditionally can break down in defense is like, why are we always in a scramble drill? It's because of transition defense, the semi-transition, and because they're beating us to the glass. Once we're in a non-ideal position defensively, that's when they get us to start rotating. So put yourself in an ideal position. Don't worry about Max Strus off ball because that's not what Jalen Brunson can do. Look, let him guard Gabe Vincent. Going forward, he will have an easier time. Gabe Vincent is not this great movement shooter, and he's definitely not Max Strus or Duncan Robinson, who literally brought them back last night because Jalen Brunson was tired and he's short. He has a 6'4" wingspan. These guys are 6'5" and above. He just can't get there. It's just he's not crowding their airspace. That's just physically, it's not something that he can do. So that's the first thing we have to do. Let's do something a little more creative to help him get the ball up court so that he's not dealing with that pressure because they're going to wear him down. Listen, the body is the body. And Jalen Brunson may turn out to be like a muscle hamster, but I don't want to find that out right now. I want Jalen Brunson he needs to be prioritized, right? Like, let's mask him on offense. Well, not on offense. Let's mask him on defense. Once we're doing that, look, let Quentin Grimes chase people around. Let RJ Barrett chase people around. Let Julius Randle, let's let them do that because they're not as essential to our winning as Jalen Brunson is on offense. We need to protect our engine at the end of the day. And I need Tom Thibodeau to do a much better job of that in game 6 and hopefully a game 7.
Shout out to my man Dutch. He always says that in every sport, games are won or lost in the margins, especially in the playoffs where, talent is equal, pretty close to equal. But I'm with Mensa, and I've said this on every social audio show I've been in. I've said it on this show. I've said it everywhere. 1 through 9, we are better. Period. But the margins is why we're down 3-2. I just think about what if we had just started Quentin Grimes all series? Where would we be? And if we lose this series, I'm going to go back to that. And there was this pushback that, well, Grimes, he played game 2. He didn't shoot that well. And he played game 3. And it's like, no, that's not like, well, one, we have mountains of evidence that tells us that Grimes is better when he can get into a rhythm and he can play long minutes. He's not a dude that you can stick in he's not a microwave that you can stick in and stick on the court and for 5 minutes at a time and warm up. But it was clear after game 2 that Grimes needs to be on the floor because I think Mensa, you're the one that said it. It was if Grimes can go 1 for 6 from 3 and he'll be guarded differently than Josh Hart if he goes 1 for 2. Because Josh Hart is not a shooter and Quentin Grimes is. And Quentin Grimes, and not that Quentin Grimes is Klay Thompson, but he has a reputation of a shooter, and reputation is all that matters. Adjustments that need to be made. Like, listen, Thibs needs to make one more adjustment because I don't think we can do what we've done and win game 6 and 7. So this morning, I shared with y'all in the chat. This morning, I was saying to myself, I don't know if Jalen Brunson could play 48 minutes again. Maybe and I said to myself, what if we had in the beginning of the second quarter, if we played Derrick Rose for 3 minutes? And what if we did that during the non-Jimmy, non-Bam minutes? Because we saw it work yesterday. I was like, you know what? If you can get away with that, then if we can get away with Derrick Rose for 3 minutes, like that, those 3 minutes may be the difference between Jalen Brunson finishing a layup or not finishing a layup at the end of the game. Then I remember that Derrick Rose has not played real basketball since Thanksgiving. And I was like, this is a terrible idea. But we can play Deuce McBride. And listen, Deuce is very simple. If he's not hitting threes, they're going to treat him worse than they treated Josh Hart. But that's why I say, listen, not like beginning of the second quarter, Jimmy's out, Bam is out, run Deuce out there for 3 minutes and see if he can sink or swim. And if he clearly is sinking, then you pull him. But you got to try something. You got to make the other team do something else. The adjustment that he has made and he needs to continue to make is that, and I said this, I don't think this is a Josh Hart series. And again, two things can be true. Josh Hart helped us win game 2, and this is not a Josh Hart series. Because, look, some playoff series, and we've realized, and we're realizing this more in the last 10, 15 years, some series ain't for all role players. And listen, Josh Hart's a role player. He's not bad. He's a star in his role, but he's a role player. And some series don't fit for you. And I want to give Thibs props because Hart's minutes went from 43 to 32 to 38 to 21 to 9 because he has recognized what Hart is good at. We don't need as much of that. We don't need as much of that right now. Right. So I would like, hopefully that adjustment stays. The other adjustment I want to see, and I don't know if it's going to happen, is our defensive scheme in the sense that the Knicks have to lead all playoff teams in falling for jump fakes and pump fakes. And one thing that I've noticed is that because of our pack the paint rim protection scheme, protect the paint at all times, we are now running out at shooters and jumping up and jumping past them. And I know Eric Spoelstra is saying, like, listen, when they close out at you, just pump fake, they're gonna run past you, jump past you, because they are running from the paint to the corner or to the wing. And the reason why this matters is because, like, Duncan Robinson, you know what I want? If I had to choose between Duncan Robinson putting the ball on the floor and taking and doing a pump fake 3, I want to put the ball on the floor. I always call him Cody Martin. I want Cale Martin. I want these guys to put the ball on the floor. I don't want them to just like get a pump fake in the easy 3. But I know that ain't gonna change. But I did like the fact that we didn't double Jimmy as much, because once we're doubling Jimmy, the rotations are like someone said it in the athletic article. Fred Cass, the anonymous Eastern Conference coach, he said he didn't have a problem with the Jimmy doubles, which I disagreed with, but he said the problem is the rotations. They're not getting there enough. And to me, I'm saying to myself, well, if you know they can't get there, stop making them try to get there, because what's the definition of insanity? So I just want to see us to alter the defense a little bit and make these like. Eric Spoelstra is making the Knicks do things they don't want to do. We have to do the same to them. Duncan Robinson does not want to put the ball on the floor. Don't fly past them. But that takes a little bit of a tweak in the defense. And I'm going to say this. Hey, players, yes, the coach gives the orders, but guess what? If you see something on the floor, you listen. I know Thibs doesn't tell Julius to play defense the way he does, right? So clearly he does what he wants. So maybe you don't have to have 1 foot in the paint on the weak side and then have to run and jump past someone to close out.
Yeah, I totally agree with all that, Shawn, especially the last part about closing out. I think we have a lot of really bad closeout guys in the NBA. But I will just say to your original point, Mensa, about the Spo Belichick comparison, I actually think it's exactly what you said. I think it's the ability to take advantage of low hanging fruit, because that's what I see as Belichick's strength. Not that he's brilliant or a genius, or I'm sure he is, but really the things that I see tangibly when I watch a game that he's coaching is that all mistakes he capitalizes on. He takes away your strength, and he forces you to do things you don't want to do. And they're low-hanging fruit. It's not like next level stuff. He just constantly makes the right decision. He's just going to make the right decision over and over again. And at the end of the game, that's going to help him have more points than you do. And that's what Spo does. It's just constantly making the right decision. It's not a hard decision, but it's like, you're going to make Brunson bring it up the court every time. Well, hound his ass so he's exhausted for game 6. You're going to have, like Shawn said, you're going to have Brunson shade towards the paint and helping and shade away from the guy he's guarding on the weak side. Okay, have him close out and put them in rotation so they can run around forever and exhaust them even more. You're going to hide Brunson on Duncan Robinson. Okay, tell Duncan to watch some Rip Hamilton tape and run his ass around through a bunch of screens until he's exhausted. Like, oh, you're going to have Brunson be the first one back on defense? Okay, well, just have Butler leak out and throw outlet passes to him. It's not like brilliant. Oh my gosh, this guy's a genius. But it's just like, those are all the things you got to do, and they add up over time. Did you want to say something,
it's attention
Shawn?
to detail and it's ego. It's you have to take the time to notice these things. And the funny thing is, our head coach watches the tape 2 and 3 times, so he has to see it on tape. But it's ego. It's okay. I want to win. I I know what works. So if you do it right, it works this way, and it'll work. And that's what he's telling you. So listen, Belichick, like I said, he finds what you want to do and he takes it away. What the Eric Spoelstra do? You want to drive the paint? You don't want to take threes? Guess what? We're giving you all of them. Do something. And our head coach was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take our best 3-point shooter out of the starting lineup. Yes, because I saw Jimmy Butler de-pants Mike Budenholzer and he go play off Jimmy, and I'm afraid. And now, so I'm going to do everything. And listen, we're not losing to Jimmy Butler. We're losing to literally everybody
And that's
else.
it right there. And that is it right there. He's coaching was coaching not to lose and not coaching to win, because he didn't want to get beat by Jimmy Butler. He wasn't worried about beating Jimmy Butler. And I think that's why Josh Hart got all those minutes early on. And it's been very, very frustrating. And one last thing that I wanted to say that I forgot to say in my original take on what the Knicks can do. How about, and hear me out on this one, it might be a little radical, but maybe let's not go at the all NBA defenders. Let's not bring them into the action. Let's not say, okay, whoever Jimmy Butler is guarding, let's screen him so Jimmy Butler can automatically be in the action. Let's not go isolation at Bam Adebayo. Maybe we can attack Max Strus or Duncan Robinson. Maybe we can find the actual mismatches, the actual matchups, and go with those. I don't know. I could just be rambling. At the end of the day, I'm just a fan. I don't even know ball like that. Look, I don't know, man. I know Tom Thibodeau,
Friday, dog.
I know Tom Thibodeau and his, watching the tape 2 and 3 times. So he clearly is seeing something that is making him encourage Julius Randle to go with Bam Adebayo and making him encourage Jalen Brunson to attack Jimmy Butler. But me personally, I just think, listen, go the path of least resistance, not the all NBA resistance on the other side. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point and a great segue into our next topic that we want to talk about here. Really, let's just shift gears. I mean, we talked about the Knicks side of things. Let's talk a little bit about the Heat side of things. I think that most Knicks fans, even most NBA analysts, would say the Knicks have more talent than the Heat, even with IQ out. But the Heat have a ton of experience and they've done a lot really well in this series. Let's just talk a little bit about what they've done well and what they haven't done great that could be exploited by the Knicks. I mean, we talked a little bit about it. Mensa, you kicked this off. I do want to say real quick to your point. I totally agree with you. Let's not ISO Bam Adebayo with like, we have a player who is like literally created in a laboratory specifically for the intention to guard Julius Randle. Like nobody else is as well crafted to guard Julius Randle in the NBA than Bam Adebayo. I mean, like, let's not do that to the extent that, and it's like, I don't know if we're afraid we're going to lose Julius. We'll talk a little bit about Julius in a second. We're afraid we're going to lose him if we say, hey, Julius, stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. Stop ISOing Bam and stop killing the clock and jab stepping and then trying to like face up. Like, don't do it anymore. Or
don't dribble into the corner and take a step back 3 with 18 seconds left on the shot
with
clock.
18 seconds left on the shot clock and Mitchell Robinson still on the other side of the court. So there's no chance for an offensive rebound. 100%. I do want to say this one thing. This is counterintuitive and goes a little bit against what you were saying, Mensa. Looking back at some of the clips and some of the game, I'm just looking at how Jimmy is moving and playing at times. I don't think there's a issue with putting in Jimmy in some pick and rolls. He's not getting around the screens very well. And there was one moment early in the last game. I think it was a pick and roll with Brunson and it was like Love and Butler and RJ. Oh, RJ was running the pick and roll with Mitch. That's what it was. And they tore that. Like Butler played terrible on that. He didn't get around the screen. He kind of was trailing RJ. He was in no man's land. Love was in a drop, didn't know what to do. And RJ threw an easy lob to Mitch. It was like one of their most beautiful plays of the game. In terms of how effective it was and was so simple and worked so well. They just cleared out that side and just ran a pick and roll with RJ and Mitch. And I don't know if Butler's all good right now. He was not able to take over the game in a way that we were all like concerned about and expected. I expected it. It didn't really happen. And his defense hasn't been the all NBA Jimmy, like superstar playoff Jimmy that we've seen. I just haven't really seen it from him. So I'm okay with putting Jimmy in some pick and roll situations and see how he moves and wear him down a little bit as opposed to just triple teaming him on defense for no reason. But I'm just curious, what do you guys think? What have the Heat done well first? I mean, we talked about some of the low hanging fruit. Is there anything else that you want to mention? And what have they been doing poorly that the Knicks just need to do a better job of exploiting?
So again, we go back to the Belichick comparisons. You know what the Heat have been doing very well? They do their job. That's what they do well. They do their job. Somebody said this, I forget who said it, but I have to credit them. The reason why they are able, and this is where I will, of all the BS about Heat culture, there is actually a Heat culture. It's just that Heat culture just gets extrapolated to like any type of success, whether it's you did it yourself or you got like Heat culture is like, I went to the gym and I worked out for 3 hours and I did this. And Heat culture also is I'm rich because I found $100 on the ground, right? However, the thing about Heat culture is that they find these undrafted guys or these, low guys below the draft no one wants, and they get them to say, listen, you are going to, if you want to stay in the NBA, you are going to do exactly what we tell you to do. Or you will be learning Chinese. And I'm not even joking. Like, they find guys that are willing to sell their souls to Miami, but you're going to do exactly what we tell you to do. And that's what they do. They run around screens. They face guard people. They take the good shot that's available. Like, they set the illegal screens, and we'll get to that later. They do everything that they're supposed to do. And they say, guess what? Our bet is that you're not going to be able to do that. And that has worked. That's what they're doing. That is what they're doing well. To Mensa, that was a great analogy. They know how to climb a tree, and there's low-hanging fruit. Okay, I'll take this. Okay, I'll take that. Okay, I'll take this. All right, they're gonna double Jimmy. So you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Like, what can we take advantage of that they're not as good at? I mean, I don't know if it's things that this season they haven't been a very good 3-point shooting team. They've picked up, every Heat fan will tell you that in March and April, March and after the All-Star break, it improved a little bit. But for the most part, they're not a really good 3-point shooting team. But when we decide that Jimmy Butler is Michael Jordan, and we send doubles at him from everywhere, that makes their job easier, right? So I don't know if it's something that they're doing poorly. It's just that I just think that there are things that we can be better at. I think one thing that we can take advantage of, and this goes back to Jimmy, is that if you look at it, they beat the Bucks in 5 and had 3 or 4 days off before game 1. And then they had 3 days off between games 2 and 3. So Jimmy was able to rest. Now it's been every other day. They played Saturday. They played Saturday. They played Monday. They played Wednesday. They played Monday? I'm getting this wrong. They've played every other day. Yeah, they played the 6th, the 8th, the 10th, and they're going to play tonight, the 12th. So I actually think that will be a big hindrance because, like, again, yesterday, like, Jimmy didn't show up on Wednesday night in the Garden because I think he's injured. So I don't know if it's about what they're not doing as well, but it's just that we have to just take advantage of, like, the things that they're just not good at. We have to take advantage of those things.
Mensa, your thoughts?
Yeah. What is Miami doing well? They are reacting and adjusting to Tom Thibodeau very well. I don't personally, they haven't shot the ball well. They haven't been scoring 125, 130 points on us. It hasn't been, we just can't stop the Miami Heat's offense. And for me, it's hard to give them too much credit for the Knicks' ineptitudes on offense because Tom Thibodeau has, for the first 3 games, I guess we can say, been purposely shrinking the floor for his best players by not having Quentin Grimes with the starters. So, I mean, look, I really do want to, I don't want to be the typical Homer fan who can't give credit to the other team and is on copium because, like, that's not what we do here at Knicks Film School. We like to be, we like to analyze things for what they are. But every time I look at that series, look, they're a well-oiled machine and everything. But it's not like they got a V8 back there or a V12, like that's a V4, bro. Like that roster is not that great. It ain't that much horsepower in that engine. Like, look, Jimmy Butler is great and I'm okay. Look, Jimmy Butler is great. I love him. He's a great basketball player. He is the apex predator of wing basketball players right now. What he is doing is unreal this playoffs. Like, he's still shooting like 55% from the field. Like, he's still playing very excellent basketball, getting to the line, doing his thing. But the rest of those guys, man, like Bam setting them illegal screens, like I guess he's been doing that great. Yeah, he's been cheating wonderfully, diving at Quick's knees and all sort of stuff. Hurting basically every player in our starting 5, but that's another, I'm not going to be that guy right now, at least. It's just hard for me to give them too much credit. Yeah, they're hitting open jump shots. Like, come on, bro. Like, they're NBA basketball players. What do you expect them to do? They're exploiting Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's a bad defender. He's always been a bad defender. So I want to say that they're taking what they're doing well is they're taking what the Knicks are giving them, and because Tom Thibodeau is slow to adjust, we've given them a lot. So that's what I would say that we've given them. What was the second part of that question? I'm sorry. I'm looking up the rundown now, but.
No, basically you said what they're doing well, which is in your eyes, not very much, but what are they doing poorly that we can exploit better?
They are playing Duncan Robinson defensive reps. That is what we can exploit.
That was my answer too, Mensa.
They are playing Duncan Robinson defensive reps. We can go at Duncan Robinson. We can go at Max Strus. Like, look, their defense is built around two guys. Not two. I'll say four. It's built around Gabe Vincent. It's built around Kyle Lowry. It's built around Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. We can go at the rest of those guys. We can go at Max Strus on defense. We can go at the Highsmith kid. We can go at Zeller. We can go at Martin. We can go at these guys, man. Like, they're not this unbeatable team. These are undrafted basketball players. Our team is littered with like blue blood talents, bro. Like Quentin Grimes went to Kansas, didn't work out there, but he was a top 10 overall recruit. Julius Randle, top 10 recruit that year. RJ Barrett, number 1 recruit that year. And you had Zion Williamson. Like, intrinsically, we have more talent than this basketball team. And no, everybody has not been playing well because Miami is well coached and they take away what you like to do. Understood. But if they're doing anything wrong, you got to blame Pat Riley because that offense ain't that great, bro. Like, that team is just not the 25th ranked offense, bro. Like, it's hard for me to give this team credit. It really is. And I want to because that will make me feel better about us being down 3-2. But every single game I have watched the New York Knicks play, I've been annoyed at my core because I'm like, these guys aren't that great. Listen, shout out to Gabe Van Vliet. He's been playing great. But I mean, like, come on. Like, let's be for real. Let's be for real here. All we have to do is go at what they are giving us because they're going at what we are giving them. And we just have to do that, bro. Like, adjust, play our game within the confines of what they are giving us. And I think that's just what it has to be.
Actually, there's one thing that I realize that they're not doing well. They are shooting in this series 31% from three. In fact, they played 5 and 5. They've played 10 playoff games, and their 5 worst 3-point shooting performances are against the Knicks. They shot 34% in game 2. They shot 30% in game 1. They shot 33% in game 4. They shot 30% on Wednesday night, and they shot 22% in game 3. And the funny thing is, the Tom Thibodeau off defense is designed, like, that's what the most frustrating thing about this is. The Tom Thibodeau defense is designed to allow threes to 3-point shooters who are not that good. And we are literally against a team of 3-point shooters who are not that good, and we're saying, I have a better idea. Let's leave you. Let's throw all that out of the window and give you wide open looks. And the funny thing is, he leaves them open because he games the math. Like, he's like, no, he not games the math, but he relies on math that says, like, over time, this will work in my favor, right? So now one can say maybe that's why you double Jimmy Butler because he'll find the open 3-point shooter and he won't hit it. But it's like, there's difference between open and wide open and scrambling and like, again, pump fakes behind you and stuff like that. That's just something we have to take advantage of. Like, they're not good at shooting threes. Let's not make it super. Like, let them take the threes that they've been normally taking all year. And let's see what happens. Because honestly, Miami, and I'm gonna give a shout out to my man Adam Rosenberg. He said that he's a Sixers fan. He said this to me before Game 5. He said Miami, he actually believes the Knicks go in 7 because Miami's a very high variance team, and we're actually seeing that with Boston right now. And when you're a high variance team, oh, my son's forgot to do his homework. When you're a high variance team, you have outcome like the Milwaukee series, and then you have the outcomes like Game 3 when it shot 22%. But we're not taking advantage of it. So that's something that we can take advantage. That's something else that they're not doing well that we should find a way to take advantage of.
Yeah, and maybe Thibs, like Zach with the H, hasn't done his homework as well, because I think there's a couple low hanging fruit that he can take advantage of. And what I would say is, I will start by saying, Miami, I think that they're doing something extremely well, which is kind of going to be funny coming from me as like a data heavy statistical analysis kind of person. They're doing a lot of intangible things really well. I think that they compete really, really hard. I think guys like Kyle Lowry, who has not been very good for them in his tenure, competes extremely hard and is going to try to make winning plays. Jimmy Butler competes. It might be the biggest competitor in the NBA. Spoelstra might be the biggest competitor as a coach in the NBA. Like, these guys compete, and competition, as Mensa is saying in the chat, competition in heat culture means cheat. It does. It does. It means get away with anything you could get away with. If you're not
cheating, you ain't trying.
If they're not calling those offensive fouls on moving screens on Bam, keep doing it. Keep standing with a ridiculously wide stance that makes you like the width of three different
Don't
men.
forget Kung Fu Kyle. I'm sorry.
and kick your leg out whenever you have the opportunity, as long as the refs don't see it. Like, but that's what I mean. Like, to me, that's what they're doing well. They're doing anything they can do, anything they can get away with, anything they can possibly pull off and the refs don't see, or any last bit of effort, everything that they can possibly do. That's what they're doing, because they're not as good a team. And if it's just a finesse game, Knicks against the Heat, nothing outside the bounds of the rules or anything shady going on, or pushing on all the marginal things that one can do, then the Knicks are going to win this series in 6. And they would have. I genuinely believe that. So that, I think that the competition level, the Knicks have to reach and surpass that competition level, which I think a guy like Brunson can do. And I just want to see if a guy like Randle can do that. And we see it in spurts and we don't in some. And we'll segue into that in a second. But the other thing I do want to say is, in Game 2, the Knicks had 50 rebounds and the Heat had 34 rebounds. They won Game 2. The Knicks won Game 2. In Game 5, guess how many rebounds the Knicks had?
50.
Guess how many rebounds the Heat had? 34. Wow. It's the exact same stat line in Game 2 and Game 5. 50 rebounds to 34. In Game 5, it was a lot of that were offensive rebounds by the Knicks and limiting those second chances by Miami. Sorry to interrupt. They did a much better job Wednesday night of the long rebounds, absolutely,
than they did in Game 4. And I'm gonna give Thibs a shout out, because he said in the post game the guard's supposed to go to the elbow, on those threes, and they weren't doing it in Game 4. They did in Game 5.
I'm happy you said that, because when I was watching Game 4 and we were getting beat to long rebound after long rebound, I was like, we miss Emmanuel Quickly right here, because he is a hustle guard with long arms and he gets to those long rebounds all the time. It really is a team effort. Not having him has really hurt us on the offensive glass.
Absolutely, on both offensive and defensive glass. And I think that's a big, I think it's the attention to detail and the competitiveness that the Knicks are not able to match with Miami, or haven't been consistently, to where it's like, why are we losing to this team? What is happening? Like, we should not be losing to this team, especially not 4 or 5 games. Like, that should not happen, or 3 of 4 games. That should definitely not happen, but it's happening, I think, because they're beating us on the margins. They're beating us in the competitiveness. They're beating us on attention to detail. And that's what I think the Knicks need to do. I don't think it's anything really schematic. I think if the Knicks pay attention to detail, are locked in, are focused, and compete on all those marginal things, I think that they will win Game 6 and they will win Game 7. To me, it's just about that attention to detail level, and can the Knicks get to that space, especially with one Julius Randle. For our last kind of overarching topic, we need to talk about the enigmatic, the vacillating, the curious case of our all-star, our all-NBA Julius Randle. Julius is averaging 20, 10, and 5 on the series, 46% from the field, 32% from 3. Definitely solid numbers there. But for people who are watching the games as closely as the 3 of us, we know that no matter what the stats say, the Randle experience can be all over the place. It can range from amazing shot making and physical dominance all the way to borderline like apathetic play, with regards to his effort and on-court decision making worse than Ja Morant's off-court decision making. So as bad as it can get. I have some thoughts. I want to hear from you guys first on Julius Randle. Shawn, can you tell me if you have some Shawnisms or some guru wisdom that will help us understand Randle? And I'll add to the question too. Do you think he'll contribute to a win tonight or be one of the causes of a loss?
I don't know if I have a Shawnism, but I do have a story.
I'll take it.
So whenever whenever you start a new job and it's like the first few weeks or month and people ask you, how's the job going? How's the new job going? And you always say like, it's good. It's going well. Yada, yada, it's going good. When people ask me when I start a new job within the first 2 to 3 months, I always say, I'll tell you when the shit hits the fan. And what I mean by that is, and my son just heard me use a bad word. Come downstairs. Yeah, go grab a snack. Okay. So keep all this in, Andrew. I say that because anyone could be a peacetime consigliere, but not everyone could be a wartime consigliere. And when you start a new job, it's going to take 2 to 3 to 4 months before like you figure out why they hired you and why and the problems that you have to fix. So when what hits the fan, that's when you see what people are about. Like I took a class at an old job I had. We had one of those emergency training classes, and there was this gentleman. He was a retired fire chief from Greenwich, and he started off this crazy scenario where somebody, a man basically gets into an office and like shoots his girlfriend. And then I was like, yo, what do you do? And I'll never forget this. He said, people think in adversity, people rise to the occasion. And no, people don't rise to the occasion. They sink to their level of training. And unfortunately, when what hits the fan, more often than not, Julius Randle sinks to his level of training. But then, every so often, he rises to the occasion. And you're like, why can't I get this all the time? Like, why can't I get this all the time? So, is he going to contribute to a win tonight? Honestly, I can't tell you because he is the only player that I've rooted for that is really, really good, that his performance depends on what side of the bed he woke up on this morning. You would think after game 4, where he said what he said and he got roasted for it, you would think, all right, game 5, he's going to lock in from minute 1. And he wasn't. And that's why when people crush Julius and they're like, I said it yesterday, Julius, unfortunately, no longer gets the benefit of the doubt. And he brought it on himself. So is he going to help us to win tomorrow? I honestly don't know. Because I've seen this player play for 4 years, and I don't know what I'm going to get. Like, he could help us win. He could help us lose. We could win in spite of him. He could play great and we could lose. All these options on the table. So the answer to your question, XJ, I don't know.
Julius Randle. Julius Randle is a man that I have wanted to trade for about 3 years now. I had seen enough after year 1. Year 2, I don't even think Mackie remembers this. After year 2 and he had his All-NBA season, I wanted to trade him on draft night for, I had devised some crazy scheme that would have gotten SGA to New York and Julius Randle in like Golden State or something. I thought at that time that his value was at its highest after the We Here season, and we needed to strike while the iron was hot. All 2022 did was vindicate me, and 2023 has been great. I want to be very clear. I've never been a Julius Randle guy, at least not when he was on the New York Knicks. When that summer, when we signed Julius Randle, I was like, this is great. This is kind of like when James Harden got out of, because his stats coming out of like New Orleans and LA, I'm like, this guy just needs an opportunity. He plays very well.
Efficient,
he was dominant.
Dominant. Yep.
I was like, this is a guy that can do it. 600 true shooting percentage. I like him a lot. Let's get him in our system and let's see if we can recreate some of the stuff we created with Amari Stoudemire. Turns out Julius Randle thinks he's Carmelo Anthony and would rather not set screens, which upsets me because I was just watching like Jason Tatum. I'm like, Jason Tatum rolls to the basket? Word? Why doesn't Julius do this? It's infuriating because Julius Randle to me is a basketball player who wants to take the hard way. He wants to go at the best defender. He doesn't want the screen. He doesn't want, the easy dunk. He wants to create it for himself. And that is cool for, marketability and all that sort of stuff. That's great. But when it comes to creating easy baskets, there's a reason this team for 4 years now has not ranked higher than 20th in effective field goal percentage with Julius Randle as the fulcrum. He is not about efficient scoring, not in a New York Knicks uniform. All that being said, I will root for Julius Randle until the day he takes his jersey off. And I'll probably root for him afterwards because I genuinely think he's a good basketball player. That's not cap. That's not. I had a mini thread on Twitter after Game 5 saying that basically because I felt the storm coming of everybody saying, oh, just get rid of Julius Randle. No, Julius Randle is an all NBA forward. You do not just trade him for nothing. And everybody who's trying to tell you that Julius Randle is a toxic asset does not know anything about asset management when it comes to the National Basketball Organization. National Basketball Association. So all that is nonsense. However, when it comes to Julius Randle and this team, and our chances against the Miami Heat, you are going up against literally the smartest coach in basketball right now. He knows what to do, how to make you uncomfortable. And a guy like Julius Randle is like a moth to a flame, has been this series. And I want to be very clear, he was not good in the Cleveland series either. We won that series largely without him. I'm not going to say in spite of him, but largely without him, we won that series. He had two good halves. He had a good half of Game 1. And then he had a good half, the first half in Game 1 against Cleveland and the first half in Game 5 against Cleveland. So he put two good halves together over 5 games in Cleveland. He has not been great this series either. He had a great second. I want to say from the second quarter down, he was pretty good on Wednesday. But when it comes to Julius Randle, man, I wish him all the best, but sometimes it feels like he does not wish the best for himself because why are you trying to be the franchise player in the media capital of the world and then you don't hustle back on defense? And instead of not hustling back, like you don't even make it low. You throw your arms up and point at other guys. Like, bro, we're not stupid. We saw you give that up. We watched it happen. And your teammates watched it happen. It's not encouraging. That is not leading by example. It's very, very frustrating. And to quote Shawn, I'll close with a Shawnism. What must be done eventually should be done immediately. That's where as far as the future of Julius Randle goes. But hopefully he pulls it together because when he has it, he has it. He beat Miami, hit a game winner against them, and he's been indispensable. I want to be very clear. He has been a huge part, one of the 3 most important parts of this season. And I'm saying 3 because I'm not sure. Maybe the defense with Mitchell Robinson was really big for us, or even Emmanuel Quickly. You can argue, I don't know how you want to argue, Julius Randle, Emmanuel Quickly, Jalen Brunson, but he's clearly in the top 3 of the regular season, why we are the team that we are. He's been huge for us, and he has been a part of the most enjoyable Knicks basketball season I have ever witnessed. But he is not reliable. And that is what it boils down to.
I mean, that's well said. I largely agree with all of that, Mensa, because most people who know my perspective about Julius know that I've also been on the same page as you, kind of the whole time, wanting to trade him for 3 years, not buying into his big season and thinking that was sustainable. At the same time, I think that the real issue for me with Randle is that I believe he is one of, if not the most high variance player in the NBA. Shawn, I think you mentioned something about the shooting variance, and a friend of yours said that the reason why the Knicks could easily win this in 7 games is the shooting variance that we'll see from Miami. You know, they could get extremely hot one game and be awful the next. Julius Randle can be completely dominate a game, be the best offensive player on the court. That includes, LeBron James or someone like that. He absolutely has it in him to do that. It's unequivocally true. He can also be the most detrimental high usage player in the NBA. He has such a wide range that he can reach on both ends. And that makes it so frustrating. Like, to me, I would rather have a player who couldn't reach those heights, but I knew, his floor was not that low. And it's tough because the Knicks need him. The Knicks need him to do anything that resembles beating like an excellent team, a high-level team. They need Julius Randle at his best or near his best. And that doesn't mean just making tough shots. That means being focused, being locked in, playing good defense, making sound decisions, not falling asleep on defense, getting back on defense, various things that relate to defense and shot selection, essentially. And the Knicks need him, and they need that from him, and they just need a lot from him. And his lack of attention to detail and focus is just perplexing to me. I don't know how they can get it out of him. I don't know it in my opinion, and this is, I don't want to speculate too much here, but I just genuinely believe that Julius might have mental health challenges that affect him with regard to pressure situations and situations that he feels are pressure situations. We might look at it and be like, literally like, oh, when Julius is on national broadcast, he goes off. How come that's not more of a pressure situation? We got 5 million people watching this game, and he's going head to head, toe to toe with KD. Like, why is he playing great in this game? For whatever reason, he believes that the pressure situation is the playoffs. And that's what it seems like to me. When he gets in these playoffs games, he seems very tense. He seems very indecisive. He seems very just bewildered on both ends. And I don't know what they can do about it. The meditation seemed to have been helping. There's crazy stuff that Shawn and Mensa are saying in the chat right now that there's just hilarious that I wish you all could see.
We cannot share what's being
but you see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay focused. Like, I'm going to stay right. This is just for Julius to see. I'm going to give him a lesson. You just stay focused and plow ahead forward. But no, seriously, like I think that I would like to believe that he's going to contribute to a win tonight. This is the biggest game of the season. We're at the part of the season when every next game is the biggest game of the season. Every game surpasses the importance of the last one. And this is the biggest game of the Knicks season. Game 6 on the road in the second round of the playoffs. If we can beat Miami in Game 6, we're coming home to the Garden for Game 7. The crowd is going to sound like Mitchell Robinson is shooting 100% from the free throw line. That's what that crowd is going to sound like throughout the entire game. If we can win this game, we have an amazing shot at going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I want to believe, and I do believe, that Julius will contribute to a win tonight. I think he'll put it together. I think that Butler is an X factor, but I think that Julius is even more of an X factor. If we get a big Julius Randle game where he's locked in, he's playing good defense, we get that midseason against Denver Julius, the Knicks are winning this game. So, what are the chances? I don't know. That's where I'm betting on right now. And, I hope it's accurate. So yeah. Does anybody want to jump in? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is more than just the biggest game of the Knicks season. This is the biggest game of Julius Randle's life.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's played it, and he played on that Kentucky team that played for the national title and lost to UConn. But like, this is the biggest game of his life. And everything you said about pressure, and I want to be clear, like Julius himself has spoken about being in the right headspace for games. So we're not doing reckless speculation here. But when you say that, like, you know, the pressure situation may get to him, and like, well, this is the biggest game he's ever played in tomorrow night on the road that they have to win. And he knows that if he knows that unless he drops 49, 13, and 12 on like 48% shooting, that if we lose, people, whether fairly or unfairly, are going to blame him. So I'm very curious to see
the tweets are already drafted. The tweets are already drafted.
Loaded up and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
Complete with gifts.
I'm very curious to see how he comes out in game 6. And I'm also curious to see how much he can put him into how well Tom Thibodeau can put him in position to succeed.
Yeah, just final thoughts from me on this one. We are about to see two teams in the most important game of the season for them. I know that this isn't technically a must-win for Miami, but they do not want to come back to Madison Square Garden, tied 3-3 after they were up 3-1, because boy, oh boy. Like, I know they've been to the finals. It was the bubble finals. They have never. And by they, Jimmy Butler, he played game 7 in Boston. That's pretty ruckus. A team like a fan base like this one. Oh my goodness. They won't be able to think. They don't want to come back here. So all that is to say, we are going to see two teams with a lot of pressure on them. That game 7 was in Miami. So yeah, no, a game 7 on the road against in New York City. Oh my goodness. They're not, listen, Jimmy Butler's a tough guy and everything. He don't want these problems. I'm sorry. He would rather close the series out on his home floor. So game 6, we're going to get the best punch from Miami. We have to come with our best punch, because I have believed since before the series started. I believed when we were down 3-1. I believed with down 3-2 that our best punch is better than their best punch, because we are the better basketball team. Full stop. We are the better basketball team. That is bared out over the course of the season, and I'm not going to let what happened in 5 games against Milwaukee deter me, because small sample size theater. But yeah, I need to see the New York Knicks. I need to see all of the New York Knicks, including Julius Randle, including Josh Hart, including Isaiah Hartenstein, including Mitchell Robinson, including Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, R.J. Barrett of the 600 TS over his last 8 games. Had to get that in there. You didn't think you were going to get a Casual Friday podcast with this guy and not get some R.J. Barrett propaganda. So I need all my guys to come out and play the best. And finally, no matter what happens at this point, I will be content with this season. It's been the best season I've ever seen, and I'm not ready for it to end.
Yeah, I think that's extremely well said. Game 7, if we get to game 7, Monday, May 15th at 8 p.m., if we get to game 7 in the Garden, I honestly, I will just be so elated. Like, I don't even need to. No, I was going to say something stupid. I'll watch the game and I'm going to enjoy it, because I think we're going to win game 7. I don't see any team coming into that kind of environment. That if you think the environment has been crazy up until now, game 7 against the Miami Heat in Madison Square Garden on Monday, May 15th will be the most energetic, like, American arena that we've seen in the last 100 years. Like, it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. So
Quick is playing in that game, right? Quick will be suited up.
Cheering will heal his ankle. Absolutely. So I just want to get there. So tonight is the game. Buckle up. Business Casual Friday. We need it from everybody. It's going to be insane. And I got to see it from Thibs. I got to see his best coaching performance in a game. I got to see it from Randle. I mean, we've seen it from Brunson enough, but we got to see it from everybody, like you guys said. So Last thing you want to say, Shawn, to send us home?
I plan to be at Game 7 on Monday night, and I hope you plan to be there too. That's all I have to say. And listen, Game 7s and Madison Square Garden don't really grow on trees. I just had to peer pressure somebody. I was like, you going to Game 7? He's like, nah, the Knicks got my entire budget. And that'll be that. And I was like, come on. I was like, Game 7 don't grow on trees at the Garden. So listen, that's our show for today. Big up XJ, big up Mensa, big up GMAC on the 1s and 2s. If you're not following Knicks Film School by now, how dare you? Please follow us on all social media platforms at Nick Film SKOOL. Check out, listen, Study Hall this weekend. Study Hall is going to be on Saturday, and it's either going to be very, very uplifting or it's going to be a eulogy. So please check us out there. And then obviously we'll have our podcast during the week with John and Jeremy hopefully on Monday for our preparation for a Game 7. And if you're not a patron, please sign up. $7 a month, $7 a month, $15 a month, $33 a month. You get a whole bunch of extra content, including playbacks, which now include Benji breaking down film. I missed the second one, but the first one was amazing, breaking down film of these playoff series. And you get to watch people like me and XJ and Mensa and GMAC and Benji and Jeremy and John watch the games. Oh, and by the way, happy 40th birthday to Jonathan Macri.
Hey.
I'm going to tell you a secret, Jonathan. When people tell me don't make a big deal about their birthdays, you know what I do? I make a big deal about their birthday. You know why? Because you know what's worse than getting older? Not getting any older. So enjoy every single birthday you have, man.
Shawnism. Dropped it.
I stole that from my man. I give credit where credit's due. So for XJ, for Mensa,
really
I'm
quickly,
Shawn for W. Yes.
Hi, Scotty Barnes. How you doing? That's all.
I don't know why he caught that straight, but I like it. Shout out. The Benji. I said that. Benji film sessions are amazing. Follow Benji at Rid Holtzman. Follow DJ Zulo, Ace_Zulo. They are the best in the business at breaking down film.
In the business.
DJ Zulo is the one that pointed out to me that why they were getting all those offensive rebounds in Game 4 because they were crashing to the nail instead of crashing to the foul line instead of like sinking all the way in. That's those little things that our guys see. So for these fine gentlemen, I am Shawn for W. Thank you for watching. Knicks Nation, let's ride Game 7.